In a game already distinguished for its boss lineup, if YouTube ranking videos are any indication, few enemies attract more fulsome, effusive praise than Genichiro. I'll admit, though, when I first played Sekiro back in 2020, I just didn't get the hype. In retrospect, I think the soul crushing slog of defeating him colored my perception, and for a while, the mere thought of him triggered my allergies. But yesterday, I returned to him for the first time in almost 4 years, and wow, what a fight it was. Consider me a Genichiro convert. I can attribute this come to Jesus moment to a few factors. First, at this point, I've undergone a truly painful but battle hardening annealing in no damage taken runs. At this point, I've done most of DS3, and I'm up to over 20 Elden Ring bosses, I think. In general, the process has been pretty miserable, but it has unquestionably made me a better player. I'm still nothing to write home about, but beating bosses definitely takes me less time than it did before, and my level of appreciation for each boss encounter has also risen concomitantly. So, when I stepped into the arena against Genny yesterday, I worried less about dying to every other move and paid more attention to the nuances of the fight. And the radiant brilliance of it shone through for the first time. Everything about this fight slaps hard. It is pound for pound one of the most finely tuned, technically brilliant fights on the market. In general, I love FromSoft bosses that teach even as they test, and Genichiro emphatically does both. Now, I made a video recently about how I think Lady Butterfly actually teaches most of the same lessons as he does, but that doesn't make him any less instructional. Genichiro has a high rate of posture recovery. Assuming you haven't mastered Lady Butterfly and her rate of posture recovery by this point, you've likely gotten by playing fairly defensively. The most salient aspect of combat in Sekiro thus far has been the decimation of posture that perfect deflections inflict. But Genichiro's posture recovers way too quickly for you to skate by on deflection alone. To make these deflections effective, you have to maintain enough offensive pressure on his posture to thwart its recovery. Genichiro also inures you to the higher technical sophistication of movesets you'll encounter in the rest of the game. This is a classic FromSoft trope that I absolutely love. They get your feet wet with the first few bosses, but then they plop a giant roadblock on your route, demanding you take those lessons and digest newer, much harder ones before you tackle the sheer brutality that's to come. Margit, for example, in Elden Ring, moves faster than previous bosses. He demands attention to positioning by punishing standing in front of him for too long. He ramps up the variation in attack timing, and he encourages you to incorporate strafing into your evasive repertoire. Pontiff Sullivan in DS3 rebuffs the roll spammer by battering you with long chains of arrhythmic combos and gap closing vaults. The list goes on. Genichiro does the same. In addition to stressing the marriage of offense and defense, his moveset is way more diverse. He has a single diagonal attack as well as chains of three. He has lateral attacks with varying degrees of delay. He has three perilous attacks, a thrust you can Mikiri counter, a sweep that you can strafe or jump over, and a grab attack. And he's got balls to the walls, bananas combo. This light speed fast concatenation of strikes is just so fucking cool. On my first playthrough, its timing and speed was totally illegible to me, and I sort of thought of it as an instant posture breaker for me that I'd just have to roll recover from. But this time, his regular attacks were manageable enough for me that I could actually focus on learning the combo. You've got to pay attention to the clang, clang, clang. We've got a 1-2 pause, a 1-2 pause, a rapid series of 4, a pause, a clang. Its atonality is like an Alanis Morissette song from the Jagged Little Pill era. I fucking love it. FromSoft goes even a step further with their instructional sadism, though. In addition to making little progress on his posture by not attacking, they punish you for skittishness by volleying you with arrows if you spend too much time at a distance. Fortunately, these timings are also learnable, but they're ultimately a waste of effort, effectively spurring you to spend more of the fight up in his face. The third phase cinematic is dope. FromSoft is so good at cutscenes, and one of the biggest things that disappoints me is how infrequently they actually use them. In DS3, for example, you get Bupkis when you step into the arena against Aldrich, Dragonslayer armor, Soul of Cinder, the Demon Princes, etc. But the cutscenes for the Abyss Watchers, Sister Frida, Slave Knight Gale, and the Twin Princes are such bangers. Perhaps their parsimony is precisely what makes these stand out, so I can't fault them too much for this. But regardless, both of Genny's scenes are killers. In Phase 3, we get lightning attacks. I've seen mixed opinions about this on YouTube. Some love this mechanic, some don't, which is fair. Personally, I totally dig it. Lightning deflects are just fun as shit. I was doing a no damage taken fight here, so I unfortunately couldn't use them because you do take chip damage. Although a commenter on my video generously pointed out that the Mist Raven prosthesis lets you get around this. I haven't tried that, but I'll definitely have to. He's got one of the coolest Mikiri counters in the game, standing proudly among illustrious peers like Ishin and Owlfather, like Theoden in the halls of his ancestors after getting whacked by the Witch King. So, yes, I get it now. Genichiro is a masterpiece, one of the most extraordinary, resplendent fights in all of gaming.